I'm William Boylan, pastor emeritus now of the Byfield Parish Church. And I'd like to introduce you to this quilt. It's very interesting. It's one of the archives of the church, really. It was probably never meant to be. It was a fundraiser at the beginning because churches did this in the 1800s, and this quilt comes to us from 2 centuries back. But people would come to church on a certain Sunday, and families would sign a piece of fabric, white fabric, and then the ladies of the church would construct it into a quilt that they would keep. Well, this quilt was laid aside in the building where the ladies groups met, and one day they decided, the ladies guild decided to clean out the place, and they located this quilt. And it very much interested my wife Miriam, and she took it to heart in a way that she wanted to discover where it had come from, what it meant, a lot of the facts about it. And so we know today a lot about this particular quilt. Well, it was created, we can tell, in 1885 because 3 of the 51 squares have that date on them. Among all that could be said about this quilt and how it was used, as I say, back in that 19th century period, one of the most interesting facts that I discovered, and I didn't search it out, it was brought to me by a Korean gentleman who worshiped here one day with his wife. They came in and sat in the pew and worshiped with us. I'd never seen him or met him. But on the way out, he said to me, as I stood at the door and greeted, "Did you know that Quilt signed your quilt?" I said, I had to say honestly, I never heard of Quilt. Oh, he said he was very important in the life of Korea because he was allowed to leave the country as an official and come to the United States in that time. And he wanted himself, because he was an ambitious young man, to be taught at Harvard, but he couldn't just walk into Harvard. He had to be prepared. And one of the more notable preparatory schools in America was Governor Dummer Academy, about 2 miles toward the ocean to the east from here. And so he enrolled at Governor Dummer, and there was no chapel at Governor Dummer, and the Protestant boys would come here to the Byfield Parish Church to worship, and Quilt came with them. He was one of them. And so he was here the day they created this quilt, and he signed it here in 4 languages, in Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and English. And that's what the Korean gentleman who was worshiping pointed out to me. He showed me the square and he showed me where he had signed. Very, very interesting to me in a number of ways, and I can only tell you one of them just in these few moments. But this church is acknowledged to have a great deal of impact on the early development of the United States. It's the first independent congregational church in America, this Byfield Parish Church. And it had a loud voice, if I can say that, in how the states were thought about themselves and how their governments were formed. So he wanted to go back from here and liberalize the Korean government that did not look very, shall I say, very warmly at being liberalized. But he went back, his friends called him back, that was before he had a chance to go to Harvard, but he went back to try to change the government structures in Korea. It was a revolution, and some of his friends were put to death. He was exiled to Japan, but from Japan, he led the movement that really did, in many ways, change the landscape, the political landscape in Korea. From our standpoint as a Christian church who want to bring the gospel to all the world, it's very interesting that that gentleman who talked to me, the Korean gentleman, said well, we know that there are more Christians per capita in Korea than any other country on earth. And this man who was telling me the story said that Quilt family is today still the strongest or largest or I guess influential maybe Christian family in Korea. I found that very interesting. The zeal we have as a church is to reach the world with the gospel. And we have done it in ways we probably don't know, but at least it's exciting to know that this is one of the ways we do know.